Hi, everyone. And we're going to be discussing our true crime documentary for this month. So, I don't know what month we're in. I know what month I'm recording this in, and I'm recording it in February, which means I am still sick. Hopefully, by the time you're hearing this, though, I'm not. I think this comes out in May. I better not be. Anyway, so yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about this. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about what's the name of this documentary again? American Murder, Laci Peterson. So this is on Netflix. If you want to take a watch of the documentary first and then come back over and listen to me, definitely go ahead and do that. But just to preface, we're going to be covering the first episode and half of the second episode in this one. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. And of course, you'll be getting a sneak peek of this on the main feed. And that will be again just the first episode. If you want to hear more, you'll have to go over to Patreon, but the link will be in the show notes. So let's get into it. So episode 1, we're hearing this telephone conversation between Laci's mom and Scott about how she and this is after she's disappeared, and her mom's just like, how did you miss things? I just need answers. I'll tell you how you miss things. And I will kind of talk about my thoughts and feel again. I did talk about the fact that this was the case that kind of pushed my fascination with true crime in the previous AMA or Learn About Me episode, which I think came out last month. So if you want to take a listen to that. But I'll kind of talk about my thoughts and feelings on this case, how it's evolved, but I'll wait until the final episode. Then we meet Sharon Roca, who is Laci's mom. They apparently were going to be having Christmas Eve at her house, at her mom's house, and then we're going to be having Christmas at Laci's. She recalls getting the call from Scott saying, Laci's missing. So we call her friends, see if she's with them. And unfortunately, no one has seen her. Her dad calls the police to say, my daughter is missing. She is 8 months pregnant. She apparently walked the dog, according to Scott, that morning, but the dog came back without her. Sharon says, I went to the park, or says she would go to the park. The park wasn't safe. It was full of homeless people. There was also this steep incline to the park that if you're not careful, she could have fallen. So her friends, from this point, finding out that she is missing, they start making flyers, getting the media involved. And once the media gets involved, the media is involved. There were lots of people involved in the search of finding her, which is great. Then we meet, okay. Uh, okay, we meet Al Braconi, who is the lead detective on the case of Laci Peterson's case. Listen, he did good work. Okay, he did do good work. He got the guy. He got the fucker. However, I do not like this guy. I do not like this guy. I don't like him. He has this attitude about him because, okay, though in my mind, do I think you got the right guy? Yes. But you did cut corners and miss things and really zeroed on this guy that you're not supposed to do. Unless you really do believe, which get it, you believe that this was it. My God. Like, I don't like him. Anyway, Scott apparently, he said, was really calm when he answered my questions. Again, isn't that what you want? Someone to be calm and answer your damn questions? We have to remember, yes, the guy fucking did it, but you don't know a person's affect, okay? I don't see him being like a Chris Watts. More on that later. I don't see him doing like that. But he, I don't know. I don't know. Like, you just, we all looked at Chris Watson and was like, that fucking guy's fucking guilty. But I couldn't say that about Scott. Not really. Just because he's being a little calm. Everything else that will follow later, I'm like, oh, okay. So you did it. But his demeanor, I'm not going to judge whether or not this guy is guilty on his demeanor. Now, I know it's 2002. Times were different. But it's just, yeah, no. Anyway, he said he was calm. First time meeting, and we're on a first name basis. That is so weird. So what? So we're just going to automatically think the guy is guilty on killing his wife and unborn child because he called you Al? Like, you know what I mean? Um, like, is he a narcissist? Sure. Is he cocky as fuck? Abso-fucking-lutely. But does that make someone a murderer? No. So it's just, what are you, like, are you saying this with hindsight being 2020? Or is this really how you felt back then? Because if this is how you felt back then, that's, that's interesting to me. So they go back to the house, doesn't look disturbed. Her purse was still there. Not a good sign. Then we learn about this tarp with umbrellas that was covering something. Can't remember what it was now, but it was covering something. And we were learning about that, which I don't remember ever hearing about before. I feel like this was the first time I heard about the umbrellas and the tarp. But yeah, we learned about that. So he's like, okay, I went boating. Here's my parking stub. I use a silver lure that's still in the package, apparently. He never actually used it. I don't know fishing. I feel like you might want to use that, but hey, we go to his shop that he actually, business-wise, has a shop. Nothing crazy in the shop. Okay, great. So we go back to the station to do a formal interview to get all of the facts straight. So this is what he has to say about that morning. So in the morning, we're watching Martha Stewart. She was making meringue, okay? I was going to go golfing, but thought it's too damn cold because it's December in California. I don't know what cold in December in California is like. I'm Canadian, so whatever, it's cold. So why not go fishing? Wait, hold on. Excuse me, Scott. What? So it's cold, too cold to go golfing, but let's go on a body of water instead, where it will be colder. Okay, sure. Okay. So yes, we'll go fishing. He said he went to the shop to get this boat that he has. When he goes to the Berkeley Marina, which is apparently 90 miles away from where he lives. That's far. When apparently he could have gone to places even closer than that, so why go to Berkeley Marina? He says, when I was leaving Berkeley Marina, I called her, left a message. We hear the message, and we've heard it many, many times. If you're a true crime buff, you've heard it many times of him saying, hey, beautiful, I'm leaving, I'll be there, whatever, and whatever the fuck else he says to her in this voicemail. We've all heard the voicemail. So he goes home. He sees the dog is dragging a leash, which, if you remember, he said she was walking the dog when he left. He later finds out the neighbor put the dog in the backyard because more on the neighbor later, but the neighbor sees the dog, put the dog in the backyard. Then he does laundry of only his own clothes. Laundry, just his clothes. You didn't think to throw in maybe Lazy's clothing, maybe the baby needs stuff that needs to be washed. I mean, I wouldn't wash it with your fishing equipment, whatever. But you just do one load just of your fishing gear. That's suspicious. Okay. He showers like one would after fishing, I guess. He eats some pizza and then calls Sharon and says, hey, by the way, Laci's missing. So wait, you did all of that. You got the dog off the leash. You washed the laundry completely, I'm assuming. Went and showered for God knows how long. Ate some pizza because my stomach's rumbling. Then you call your wife's mother to say your 8-month pregnant wife is missing since God knows fucking when. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what makes him guilty. What is happening? So he goes to the neighbors. He mentions to them, I went golfing, y'all. Don't know where my wife is. Wait, sir. Hold on. Hi. I thought you said it was too cold to go golfing and you went fishing in the Berkeley Marina, but now it's golfing. Okay, so he's telling the neighbors one fucking thing. To her parents, he says he's went fishing. Oh, Scott, how did you go fishing? How did you do that? Oh, on this new boat that I bought. I'm sorry, what? They did not know about said boat because, as they believe, he never told Laci about said boat. Because if he told Laci, Laci most likely would have told her mother, my idiot husband just bought a new boat when we have a baby on the way. Okay. So yes, they did not know about this boat. More on the boat later. So Detective Bracconi says, I think it would be helpful to do a poly just to eliminate you. And he's like, okay, I'll do that. Let's set it up for tomorrow. We'll do. Spoiler alert, y'all, he'll never do the fucking polygraph, but whatever. Um, but, Detective Bracconi basically says, Scott was just very calm. His wife is missing. His 8-month pregnant wife is missing. He's calm, leaning back in a chair. It's just odd behavior. Okay, I get that. I do. Period. We then meet Janny Peterson, who is his sister-in-law, who recounts the day Laci went missing from her end. She, as we know, is married to his brother. His family says that they could hear he was distraught when he called to say that Laci was missing. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when he calls his family to tell them that she was missing, because was he though? Was he really? Anyway, we learn the background on Scott, kind of where he came from, blah, 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 who cares? And we also learn about Laci. She was very little, 5 feet, if you're lucky. And I said, same. And she met Scott. And when she did, she was excited for him, excited for this person to be in her life, excited to, I guess, be in love with this guy. She was giddy. She met him at this restaurant that he worked at. Her friend, though, wasn't dear friend, though, she wasn't too sure about him. He seemed very showy. Flowers all the time, dinners. They apparently went to Mexico fairly early on in their relationship, which, I mean, I don't know. She used the term love bombing. She said it's not a term we heard back then, but in today's world, we would call it love bombing. Lovely. She said she was in love for her mom as long as he was making her happy. She was happy. That's all that mattered for her. It's just sad. This is sad. Scott was kind. Um, he was treated like a golden child by his family. Y'all, yell at your kids sometimes. Please, please. This is why you need to yell at your kids sometimes. He was the only child between his parents. His parents were married previously, had children in those previous relationships. Between the two of them, this was their only child. So in their eyes, he could do no wrong. They both still were in school when they got married. So they got married fairly young. But her friends say, like, she was the most beautiful bride. And I love that. Anyway, the media comes in the 26th of December. So she's been missing for 2 days. So why not talk about a missing pregnant woman? They said they had nothing else going on. Slow news days because of Christmas and everything. So why not talk about this pregnant missing woman? Oh, thank you for your fucking service. Seriously. Um, we kind of see pictures again. We learn a lot about Laci, which is really the one I'm focusing on here. Um, they said she was the cutest baby. She was the cutest baby. She was born in May of 1975, so Taurus. She was a Taurus, just like me. Well, she was a Taurus. She would talk too much in class. They called her Jabberjaw. That's so mean. But they called her Jabberjaw. We see home videos of her just having fun, dancing to the New Kids on the Block. And honestly, like, this is what I loved about this documentary, because I feel like most of the time that I've known of this, or which again I remember seeing the story break when it first happened, I never saw her as a human. You kind of just see this frozen face, pregnant. That's all you kind of saw with Laci. So to see her in these moments just be happy, a teenager, having fun, dancing, singing with her friends, it really humanized her. And this is what is so good about this documentary. So the family had a well-organized thing going with the search for her. They had a $125,000 reward pretty early on. It's great. Scott was there, but y'all, he was telling jokes. Okay, so on the one hand, you could say he was trying to keep it lighthearted. Maybe this is what he thinks Laci would have wanted. Maybe this is a way for him to cope. I don't know. Or it's wholly inappropriate. One of the two. Or both. I don't know. They say like you welcomed the jokes and whatever. But it's just ooh. Hindsight being 2020. During a press conference, the topic of fishing is brought up, which police refuse to talk about. And, Scott leaves at this point. The media is like, that is so odd that he doesn't want to talk to the media. It's the best way to get it out there to talk about your wife, which, yes, I agree. But at the same time, maybe it's also not the best way because the media can twist things to their advantage. So I don't know what the right thing would have been to do. Anyway, he would tell others, you go in front of the media. He's not saying don't go in front of the media. He's saying, I don't want to go in front of the media because maybe he's being smart. Maybe he realizes I'm the husband. I'm the one that's going to be seen as the one who maybe did something to her. So I don't want to focus on me. So you go in front of the camera. So he was not cooperating with police, um, which is interesting that he wasn't cooperating with them because his dad actually told him not to cooperate with them. Maybe someone was realizing they're coming after you. I don't know. Anyway, her mom pulls him aside and asks, "What were you doing that day? And why didn't you say something about the boat?" Because we did not know about it, which in turn they believe that Laci didn't know about it. And he says, weird response, it was a surprise for Ron. Ron being her stepfather. Or I think or maybe her father, I can't remember now. And I'm like, wait, what? Why does he care about your boat? And then they're like, okay, so what about the polygraph that he said he was going to do, which he never did? He's like, I'm just too distraught to do that right now. Which, sure, understandable. You shouldn't do a polygraph. Honestly, you shouldn't do a polygraph at all. But you shouldn't do a polygraph if you're distraught. I understand that. But eventually, anyway, Laci wanted to get pregnant. We're kind of learning about this now. She wanted to get pregnant, but he apparently didn't want to have any kids. But then all of a sudden, 6 months later, he apparently agreed to try, which is, you're entitled to change your mind, but it's just weird that all of a sudden you're changing your mind. It took a while for them to get pregnant, but then it happened. So we kind of get like these diary entries that was done, written by Laci. So we'll kind of go through a little bit of that. So July 16th, 2002, the first sonogram, baby is active. October 27th, apparently, Scott felt the baby kick for the first time. I felt relieved because I didn't want to be the only one experiencing this. This part, he didn't seem that excited, but I know he is. Breaks my heart. You can never determine or know what is going to happen, but this is not me victim blaming her because she did nothing wrong. But let this be a warning for all women who are in these states, these vulnerable states of carrying life, growing life. When a man shows you who they are, believe them. Do not make excuses for them. Okay, so on the 26th now, the police come into the house saying, we want to do a thorough search. Sign this consent, Scott, so we can do so. And Scott's response to him is, well, you don't think I'm really gonna sign this without a lawyer? Doesn't matter. We don't need you to, because they actually have a search warrant to search the house. Boom. So the search begins at the home. It's fairly unremarkable. We go to the warehouse, which is Scott's warehouse. So he says he went fishing. He buys the license on the 20th, buys the boat on the 9th. Check the bay tides on the 8th. Not the fishing report, but the bay tides, which is weird. He apparently tells Detective Barconi he went fishing to get the boat in the water. Well, it's 90 miles from Modesto to the marina. There are other places you could have gone to put your boat in the water. During the search of the boat, we see the homemade anchor that he created with a rope. But y'all, there's not just one, there's 5. Now, what's interesting is that the 5 are still there, which is interesting. But did he make more than 5? We don't know. And we found a needle nose plier with a black hair wrapped around it. Now, if anyone needs a refresher, Laci has black hair. Then we talk about the neighbor's home being broken into, which if we've watched 2020, whatever, I think it was the 2021 that we watched, the hack came out a few years ago. That's the first time I heard about the break-in across the street. But we learn about that now. They were out of town, the homeowners. They came home and saw that their home was broken into. Could there potentially be a connection between the home being broken into and Laci's disappearance? Then we get a lead. A call comes in on the screen. I believe it's Detective Berconi is watching this woman typing this message from the person who's on the phone. And he's reading it as it's being, typed. Scott Peterson is my boyfriend. What? We have been together for a number of months, says this anonymous caller. We talk daily, she also says. Except this caller, as we know, is not anonymous. This caller is Amber Fry. Amber Fry. Well, that is the end of episode 1